casting today.
Oh, whoa, surprise! Cat's out of the bag, I guess. It's okay, guys. All right. So now you guys got a spoiler. Moxie, Dustin will be able to take you guys to that last series. But you know what? Right now, we got the Washington Justice versus the London Spitfire on our hands. Necker, I was talking about the Washington Justice a little bit. Not sure if my voice went through to the stream, but you gotta talk about Alpha Yi and Flora. I love the London Spitfire, Necker. During our time in Contenders, we got to see the British Hurricanes shine for what they were. London Spitfire got to revitalize that. They had an amazing last season, but we got to talk about what's happening in the meta right now. And with no set meta in stone, I feel like this team may struggle to find what works best for them. Of course, you look at Hottie, and Hottie is like basically the epitome of Reinhardt out here. And it's exciting because even though Ben Best isn't on the starting lineup for the Justice, I can't wait to see what that has in store for us. It is going to be Mirror on that starting lineup of the Justice. And our first map is going to be Oasis.
Yeah, I am so excited about this matchup because I feel like we're a little bit split here, Vicky. You might have your bets on the Washington Justice, but I'm in the London Spitfire camp here. I think that Hottie has shown us enough different looks this season, and especially when we're on Oasis as well, I definitely see a world where they come out with that Symmetra May Reinhardt brawl. We could see a little bit more of the Winston as well. I think there's just a lot of looks that the London Spitfire could show us, especially given that Hottie has shown success on other heroes like the Winston. It's gonna be up to kind of what they feel like is gonna be the flavor, though, when especially Mirror kind of does throw a wrench into some plans that I feel like everybody had for Washington Justice today.
I definitely agree with the way that we can approach this first map, especially with Mirror coming in here. Man, during my time in APAC last year, Alpha Yi always does Alpha Yi things. Coro's coming in from Spark now. I'm expecting him to continue to look great. I'm hearing the Scrimbugs also look great here. Already yeeting that anti from across field, hitting Sparker and Admiral for trying to see which of these teams want to take control over the high ground first.
Yeah, we're going to see London Spitfire play around these columns, though, at least to start. You don't want to peek your head over for Flora to hit you with a headshot or Taro to land another anti-grenade onto you. And London Spitfire really looking for an opportunity to try to get in here with the Reaper, which is deleted.
Flora coming in already, opening things up strong for the rest of the Justice. Audi also falls incredibly low. We're at this different angle, though, calling out Backbone, who's forced to get away. Hottie managed to get away in time, too, as the Justice are the first team to set their foot on this point.
Yeah, the Justice at least are going to start to take control for now, but I feel like that was a lot of just being able to get the right picks right away. And so at this point, if you're the London Spitfire, you're kind of hoping for an opportunity to maybe sneak in, which is why we see Hottie on the outside looking in, going for a big jump as the rest of his team is in position.
Oh, Flora now finds Landon. Flora on fire right now. Hottie's forced to get away. He gets put to sleep in the middle of the air. He still wasn't going to make that lip as Taro finds two. Right before the Spitfire are forced to reset. Great look already starting things off for the Justice. But the Spitfire back to the drawing board here for them. Really needing to rely on Backbone's EMP for that next fight.
Yeah, this is the danger of running something like the Sombra comp, though. And then Alpha Yi, just in your backline right now, found Backbone. That sets the London Spitfire back so much. Vicky, we're just talking about Alpha Yi as a tremendous Tracer player, and what a showing right now to be able to kick off this match.
Actually insane start already between Flora and Alpha Yi. I mean, you heard it on the desk. I just think this DPS lineup is going to be so difficult to deal with here, especially looking at the Justice of what they have in store for us. They're about to get beat. Teru's got the nano boost. Alpha's got that pulse bomb while he's hanging out in Spitfire's backline. See how Spitfire is going to try to approach us with Backbone now having EMP. Oh, Kitsune Rush now getting called in from Landon here, too. There's an opportunity for Spitfire to try to contest Justice, but the issue is Justice are on the high ground. They need to try to force the Justice on him here. Now with the Nano Boost coming in as Hattie gets hit with the anti, here comes the Sound Barrier from Admiral to keep the rest of Spitfire in this fight. Try to boot them off if they possibly can. Mirror now finding an ability to try to duke it out over on the low ground currently. As that Nemesis form that already popped, and Hottie's going to be able to pop that Primal too. Vortex blocking in some amount of space, and 98% already on board for the Justice. Sparker unleashes the Death Blossom. Nice bubble from Hottie to keep the Spitfire in this fight. They finally get the point. They get some trades, but what a messy fight as Alpha Yi is still alive and still finds Hottie.
this point, it's really just Backbone at the moment trying to keep control for the team. But even then, Alpha E is back. Backbone can't necessarily go toe-to-toe right now unless you're able to land a hack. That's why Landon is here with the Swift Step to be able to provide that healing as well as that backline support. But it's just going to be tough here for the London Spitfire to claw back from this one, Vicky, especially knowing that we have a Sombra on the other side with Flora as well. Alpha E has a Pulse Bomb, and they're going to have to use your mobility here if you're London. Make sure you don't get caught by this.
Teru's antis have been crazy since the very beginning. Now, Admiral also gets hacked on the other side. You talk about Flora being on the Sombra here, but Backbone does have that EMP ready. Getting that just as quickly here. Finds a backline, which is super crucial, but Teru's still alive just for right now until Landon finally finds him, but it costs him to overextend, gets traded out. FD God now gets taken down too. Spitfire getting some of that extra credit while it's still being contested by the Justice on this point.
That at this point, the overtime though, I mean, it's dire straits here for London to get back into this one. Backbone's able to get a pick, but that does leave Admiral to have to go back and get the touch here, waiting for the rest of the Spitfire to come back. Suzu was used, EMP now.
Oh, EMP immediately deleting Landon. Admiral's about to meet him right back in the spawn. Overtime ticking away in favor of the Justice now. And Justice also having the number advantage. Yeah, Audi stayed alive for as long as possible, but he won't have the sustainability as the first round goes in favor to the Washington Justice.
The Washington Justice starting out Mirror just reminds me of why Mirror was so strong when he was able to play for the Vancouver Titans last season. Mirror has a tendency to actually play a very aggressive game, and I feel like when it comes down to being able to catch London Spitfire off of their game or on the back foot, it really comes down to an aggressive tank that may try to make Hottie play a little bit more passively. Hottie doesn't really have that same type of play style. He really likes to react to a situation, or unless he's the Reinhardt, in which case, yeah, he goes Omega aggro, but you've got a Kiriko, not an Ana at your back, so you just can't play that same type of aggressive game.
Bringing back towards what we saw already at the very beginning, even those individual pick that we saw from Flora. Flora and Alpha have both died just once after that first round already. Actually, insane start here as Spitfire take a much more aggressive position here, trying to beat them to the Mega Pack, as well as Backbone trying to get the hack. Trying to take control of the high ground is Hottie. He leaves all the way up there, but look who's there to meet him. It's Alpha Yi. The pack is actually hacked by Flora there first, so he can't even go for the reset thanks to that. Alpha Yi, having other plans, is going to be able to get that. Deletes a translocator here too. Sees two inside of the room of the Spitfire. They did lose out on two. Alpha Yi does go down, but the rest of the Justice were able to take control of the point first.
Justice, it's kind of like a similar story to last time. They're going to take control, and they're also going to try to control these corridors so that London Spitfire has way less entry routes to be able to get back to this point. We started off with Sparker there on a Reaper, and at this point you're really just trying to stay together as a team, but Washington Justice are playing around these choke points really, really well, not really allowing London Spitfire to jump in and grab these picks by themselves.
Oh man, unfortunately, Landon was right there, just a tad frame late there. Alpha Yi still being able to find that pick. Both DPS out from the Spitfire. Landon took a nap, he got taken out, and the Justice still contain that control over the point.
Big control here, because I don't exactly know how London Spitfire get back into this one except with some immense coordination. You have Backbone still working up towards that EMP, but even in that first map, it felt like the EMP was struggling to be able to hit its mark onto the targets that you want it to. Flora is going to beat Backbone to the punch with an EMP of his own. And that's something that London Spitfire have to play around right now, or they're going to get staggered again.
Justice have so much to work with here too, including that EMP like you mentioned. Leading on the point here is a Spitfire trying to contest it. Here comes the EMP onto the high ground, and just finds Hottie. They isolate him. He gets it with an anti, but he had the primal, and then he immediately gets put to sleep. They're continuously pressing Hottie, who was trying to fight for his life on the high ground, but that split attention allowed Sparker to get that pick. Now the Justice going to try to re-engage now. See Alpha Yi on top of the point. Sparker on the other side on the high ground here, playing very split up as the Justice is finding an opportunity to re-engage.
I mean, this is a big opportunity for London Spitfire. They were able to grab control of the point. They have an EMP of their own. They were able to negate the EMP from Flora when it was a single target onto Hottie, and they didn't even have to use the sound barrier to do it. So now London Spitfire have all of that ultimate control in their favor, but
wow,
the Admiral going down here is pretty detrimental.
Yeah, because that was the sound barrier that they needed to use for this fight right now that they try to invest in, as Taro had used up that nano boost. Miro also has that primal for the reset, back from falling low. He's got the EMP. How can he use it here if he has the opportunity? Sparker too, falls low, he managed to get away, pops a Death Blossom. Barrier going to get immediately deleted as the sound barrier from FD God is going to be able to be retaliated too to negate that damage, help the rest of the Justice stay in this fight, and it's not going to be enough without the E going down. London Spitfire finally can take a little bit of a breather here, trying to reclaim this point now, because already at 87% the Justice have that extra hand on top of Spitfire.
In these next few fights, you're really looking at Washington Justice here to be able to build up to the EMP, use it to be able to win this next team fight, and maybe be able to sustain with the Primal Rage as well. But for London Spitfire fans, you're really hoping that we're going to see some big picks come through from Landon or Sparker, even Backbone in the backline. It's going to come down to a very coordinated dive for London Spitfire to win this round and tie it up for this map.
Backbone trying to get away. Mirror finds him. Huge EMP coming in from Flora. It finds 4. Finds a backline. No sustainability left from the Spitfire. It's going to have to be another reset. They got it to 82% with the Justice in store for that final fight territory.
Yeah, this might be a really quick one as well, because London Spitfire don't have a whole lot to be able to come back into this one. You can swift step your way in, but Backbone is the closest, and you also have to send Admiral in on his own.
Overtime taken away as a Kitsune Rush gets called in. You talked about Admiral, he gets called out. Both of the supports out from the Spitfire as Sparker gets hacked. Flora has been on top of these hacks. Amazing as Mira's gonna get hit with that nano boost. Alpha E may have been taken down by Sparker. They get that trade, but the bodies aren't there in favor for the Spitfire. It's just clean up on aisle 3 for the Justice to get this first map in their favor. One by one as they trickle down, Necker Admiral goes down after he finally makes his way back. The rest of the Spitfire now are just staggering in with the rest of the Justice trying to clean up this choke point.
Maybe Backbone's able to come back into this one with the EMP. Does have that online, but it requires sustain here from the London Spitfire to be able to use it.
But didn't even get the outcome that he wanted to from the EMP. That could have been a crazy turnaround here for the Spitfire. Overtime still ticking away as Flora now has an EMP himself. Put it in the coffin. Another big EMP. Finds 3 Sparker and unleashes a Death Blossom. Mirror still finds Hottie and Backbone. What a long fight to make a statement here from the Spitfire. But you can only stay on here for so long before the Justice win fight after fight back to back to take map number 1 on Oasis.
What a convincing map from the Justice as well. We saw some good ultimate usage coming out from the Justice just to be able to keep London Spitfire on their toes. And unfortunately, it just felt like kind of the big ultimates that Spitfire had in the tank, they weren't able to get a whole lot done with. EMP just felt very lackluster.
Yeah, that EMP, can you imagine? That would have been absolutely huge, especially when he worked his way up towards what looked to be a very last fight right there, the second to last fight at least, and that could have turned things around for the London Spitfire, but the Washington Justice, Flora was on another level, especially on that second round. So consistent, not only with his EMPs, really like the quick sleep that we also had at the very end right there. Yeah, Hottie was dead anyways, but this is such a great opening statement from the Washington Justice for that first round.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to really talk about how, like, Teru has come into this roster. Give a lot of credit to the DPS, but I feel like this really is where the supports are going to shine in a meta like this. And Teru, one of kind of the later additions there to the Hangzhou Spark last year, has been able to find their way onto the roster of the Washington Justice, and I feel like has put on a really good show for us so far when it comes down to all of that impact from the bio grenades on the Ana and just being able to hit his mark with the Kiriko.
Yeah, and to put it to perspective too, you talk about the impact that we saw from Taro, from FD God. FD God died like twice throughout the entirety of Oasis. Yeah. Flora died once. And if Alpha had died once on that first round, died 3 times on that second round, but the fact that Flora still stayed alive for so long as Somra, you know those EMPs were pumping out. It was a very big difference compared to what we had seen, unfortunately, from Sparker and Backbone, and a great statement to open up that first map in our second series to open up the Overwatch League 2023 season. We still got some more in store with you in map number 2 on the other side of this break.
fly and I'm flashy. It's the reason why the people always ask me, where you get that? Where you cop those? I've been fresh to death since a snot nose kid on the block with the illest sneakers. The girls all flock like they missile seekers. The party don't stop, got different features, exclusives, different colors, you can't get them either. I came in a stunt, that's what I go for. I don't buy a pair, I buy the whole store. A price tag's just a number to me, so I never miss a shot that I want and I see. Swish.
Sheesh, I love these intro videos. Welcome back, everybody, to our second series opening up the Overwatch League 2023 season. I'm Vicky Kitty. I'm joined with the one and only Necra. And Washington Justice took map number 1, Necra. I'm expecting to see some changes going into the lineup now that we're going on to map number 2, which is going to be played on King's Row. All right, sorry about that, Necra. Muted again. We're talking about the Washington Justice, Necra. Talking about the hype that we just saw between them winning the first map and some adjustments that we're now seeing from the roster.
Yeah, we are seeing a couple of adjustments here from the Washington Justice after that first very convincing map win. We're going to see Ben Best now make an appearance. I'm sure Zoe and Danny are very happy about seeing Ben Best now take up the tank helm. And now, of course, we're going to see Mirror in support. If FD got out, Mirror in. I'm really curious to see how that is going to go. But we also have some swaps on the side of the London Spitfire.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to see how that's going to be utilized out here. We're on the support, but yeah, we see some swaps now coming in from the London Spitfire. Sparker Backbone coming in, Hottie, Skyripper, and Landon. Skyripper coming in, and it's going to be nice to see how this is going to be able to play out. Of course, Skyripper coming from the Vancouver Titans. Again, it's like seeing the gang back together again for this team. But after that first map, Necra, it looked like London was struggling a lot on figuring out what they wanted to go for. It just, unfortunately, with the Sombra pick, it didn't look like they were very comfortable there, especially matched up against a player like Flora. And since we are moving on to Kings Row, I'm worried out here because Flora pops off on Kings Row.
Yeah, so that's actually why I'm a little bit surprised at the swaps we're seeing from the London Spitfire. We're actually seeing Backbone getting taken out of that roster, and Lethal is going to be playing in this map, which feels like a little bit of a change-up of what we may have expected from London Spitfire looking at them for last season. Obviously, we are playing on new patches, we have new hero compositions that we really are seeing become successful, and so maybe Lethal brings something to the table that Washington Justice might just not be expecting. Also, as the desk called out, it's been harder to be able to make a Reinhardt Rush composition successful. So maybe that is a hero that Hottie is just gonna have to put on the back burner for a little while.
It's difficult too. I heard the scrimbooks don't look so great either. And like you mentioned, the Ryan Rushdown, can it work? It's very difficult to utilize. And if there is a player that absolutely knows the nuances of Reinhardt and the rush, it's going to be Ben Best especially. So Washington Justice now, Ben Best moving in, sticking to the Winston. Also that flexibility that Ben Best has on this tank. Hottie has been able to try to match that too. We saw it last year. We're seeing it come through to fruition for Spitfire at the very beginning now, year 2. See what they can bring to the table now that we move over here to this map, where you see more of those open sightlines to allow Sparker to pop off.
Yeah, I mean, this is also great sightlines as well for the Washington Justice to be able to use, because you've got Mirror that's going to be playing the Ana in the window. And on Kings Row first point, specifically for the defense, you have some great sightlines to be able to allow your team to play a little bit more flexibly. But that's exactly what you're talking about, Vicky. Sparker being able to use this Hanzo to high success.
Oh man, what a start out here too. Take a nap, set you back to the spawn. Gotta hit them in the head real quick. Dink, and the Justice are out of that point. Spitfire, what a start here on Kings Row. This is a really good map here for Spitfire to really shine on too. You can already see it playing out.
Yeah, Spitfire have usually played the Reinhardt Rush on this map, but because it really is favoring more of a Winston-style meta, I love that they're able to rely on something like maybe Lethal's Tracer alongside this Hanzo that has provided these nice sightlines. And let's talk about Skyripper for a second as well, coming into the roster, playing the Ana. Skyripper really came out as a player in Contenders, starting to get known for his Batiste as well as his Ana, and I feel like in a flex support meta where you are able to place Skyripper and Landon together, you're able to have a high damage output as well as this healing output as well from the Ana. Can't wait to see what happens with London here and if they can keep the momentum that they generated from capturing that first point.
Look at the pressure that London's also putting in to clear this next corner too. Just having to give up some of the extra space. Lethal's about to get the pulse bomb ready to also, as well as Alpha U's trying to take a different angle. See Sparker ready to try to call him out as Lethal's on the high gun right here, trying to get that follow-up with Hottie. I like the way that they're skirmishing currently, but it's Justice who are playing a little split up, trying to take different off angles. You see Lethal calling out Alpha U right there too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make a call right there, right? Where you've got to try to go for this Tracer versus Tracer and hope that the Kiriko healing that you get, or maybe a little bit more of the damage output is going to help you out in that way. It's also going to be important for you to follow the health packs. You know, where are these Tracers going to go? But the fact that you're getting a nice big pick onto Alpha E really opens up the door here for London Spitfire to keep playing aggressive.
I can imagine how the comms are going crazy here too. Lethal calling out where Alpha U's positioning is. The follow from Hottie as well. There's that synergy shining through. And look at the ultimates that we have online as well for the Spitfire. Basically, all of them are now online now for that second point, so that way they can secure this win. Ben Best does have the high ground currently though, so positional advantage here for Ben Best as well as Flora. If he could land the EMP, it would be so big.
Yeah, especially when you're looking down the barrel of the second point, though. If you're the attacking team, you kind of want to use everything. Flora only hits 2, though. Leaves Hottie to go for the Primal Rage, Vicky.
Yeah, it forces Lethal out of this fight. He gets taken down immediately right afterwards by Flora. They trade that between Flora and Lethal. Here comes a Kitsuna rush too as Seru gets taken down. Numbers in favor of the Spitfire as Hadi popped that problem to clear up the second point. Unstoppable is a London Spitfire. Once they got this payload moving, they got that point flawlessly, and they have not been stopped ever since.
They're just a machine right now. They're a train. I'm on it right now as the hype train is leaving the station. And I hope you are too, because now we're entering into point number 3 of King's Row. And if you're the attacking team, this is where you really do try to keep the momentum that you've generated. You didn't even have to use everything right now. Lethal has a pulse bomb. Sparker has the Dragon Strike. And the Dragon Strike is such a great way to be able to help buy some space for your team, especially as Hadi's going to try to jump in and clear off that high ground.
Oh, and that next corner too. Missing on the stick, but it doesn't matter. Terror turns around, gets hit with that pulse bomb, gets taken out. The start of this fight again. Here comes a nano boost onto Ben Best, trying to clear up that second point space. The sleeps from Skyripper have been so on point as well for this map, contesting Ben Best, which means that Justice basically forced out with that nano boost. Won't have that for that next fight either.
Whoa, Alfie is actually switching over to the Echo, maybe trying to get some aerial supremacy in here, but it doesn't really matter. I don't know if Alfie is going to have room to be able to bring this Echo out of the doors, as we see London Spitfire just gatekeeping.
London mad. London said, hold on, Oasis never happened out here. They've been contesting Alpha every time. Alpha, he managed to stall the point as long as he can before Landon takes him out. Benbis moves in as Teru pops in the rally. Spitfire with this disengagement though, let's talk about this positioning. That was a really good call on the disengagement. Forced out the rally to get out of that line of sight. Still finds Ben Best. Sparker has been absolutely on fire so far too. He's been able to call out each and every one of these approaches from the backline of Alpha, who now has that swapped over to the Echo. Sparker just fights 3. He died at the very end, but he didn't die before that. He was going insane, with Lethal only dying once as well.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That was just like the perfect storm happening for London Spitfire there. They were able to capture that first point. They had a beautiful ultimate rotation where they had 5 ultimates online, approaching second, only had to use 3 of them and still had energy left in the tank to be able to make it across the finish line here. So a great 3-point capture there for London Spitfire as we start to swap sides. And Vicky, I love the look that we're seeing from the London Spitfire so far on the attack, but can they translate it over to success on the defense? That's what I'm looking at right now.
They could replicate the success that they just had on the attack. They literally ran their way through King's Row. Taking a look at Sparker's highlights, he got a quick 3K over here. Over on the other side, he was uncontested. He went up when you making a swap over to the Echo. Yeah, he found Hadi, but here comes Sparker finding shot after shot. It was insane. We talked about how the Hanzo really benefits into London's playstyle, especially here in King's Row, where you're going to be able to have more of this verticality provided to you. Justice, they didn't get to stop London not once, even when they tried to clear out some of those corners. And it was so difficult, but it was even Hadi's placement with those bubbles that really allowed London to get that space if they needed.
Absolutely. It kept a lot of the team safe, and Skyripper is still able to get that healing through the bubble. So it's really nice to be able to see that come through, and already landed a nice anti-nade over there to try to get some healing down for the team, and then also just make sure that you're keeping Washington Justice at bay for a couple of seconds at least. Big sleep though to land it. That's not looking very good. You're gonna have to use the swift step to get away.
Oh, he manages to live here too. Hadi falls low. Skyripper in that window that you called out earlier on. We saw Justice on the attack, or on the defensive stack here. Sparker is literally one. How is he still alive? He managed to survive and still fights Alpha Yi after he pressured him off from the high ground. 2 down for the Washington Justice. A number advantage in Spitfire's favor as Landon needs to come back from spawn.
Yeah, you're going to have to see Landon come back a little quickly, but somebody can go back and teleport to at least give that swift step a chance for Landon to get back. So I think you're totally fine with this as it's going to play out, and Hadi just kind of continuing to keep everybody in check. Like, where do we go from here?
Oh, Flora says, all right, I'll contest Sparker out here too. So the Hanzo Pigs trying to get some extra cover right behind that statue. Trying to find at least that 1 point right here from the Justice as the Spitfire, again, with this disengagement, have been on fire. The Nano Boost coming in. Hadi gets spooked away here off of Terra. He tries to harass the backline. He gets put to sleep, but Alpha E still gets taken down right before that. Taru finds Lethal. They get that trade between Alpha E and Lethal here too. But Hadi's been playing so well while King's Row and the shenanigans that he's been able to get onto the high ground just so that way he can get right back in front of Skyripper and Landon. Pops up Primal, he gets hit with a huge anti here. Still with this disengagement, he's looking to try to tear up the Justice from the back.
I think Hadi was able to recenter himself in between that map break and is really putting on a great performance here on the Winston. Does go down for his troubles, but at this point, you're really looking at trying to trade your backline. Benbest is going into the backline of the London Spitfire and vice versa for Hadi. But you're going to try to stall as long as possible to hope that Hadi's able to get back in time and maybe get a recontestant.
Sparker can get something going here too. Landon gets put to sleep. Here comes the Dragons, all in the line of sight, and in the nice choke point that the Spitfire were hanging around here too. Justice buying in some of the extra time that they needed now that they're going to be able to escort the payload. Spitfire still playing very up and ahead though. They want to try to contest around that next corner that they could hold, especially after finding that pick onto Flora.
Oh, true. And I mean, look at this. Look at how much damage they were able to get down onto Benbest. They were able to pick off Flora as well. Landing a nice kunai right into the dome. And Hadi's able to play an aggressive game here. Just kind of staying in the window, maybe even keeping the payload under the archway. The rest of the team of the London Spitfire don't have to play as far forward.
Alpha E does have that duplicate at the ready here too. Spitfire basically have all their ultimates online. Hadi's about to get Primal in this fight here too. He gets hit with a pretty big anti here. Skyripper Sparker go down to Alpha E and Benbest, trying to ice the backline, but it doesn't matter with 3 going down from the Justice. Hadi gonna be able to take control over the front lines here, forces Benbest to turn around, try to fixate his attention on them. London Spitfire lose out on landing here too, but that was still a great delay from Spitfire. 2 minutes, 55 seconds and counting here.
All right, so still a little bit of time to work with as Washington Justice. We're able to capture that first point relatively quickly, but they're still looking at being able to rotate through some of these ultimates. You've got Teru with the rally online, so maybe you're able to clump up a little bit, but that does leave you very vulnerable for something like the Dragon Strike that Sparker has been holding on to. This is a really great tool for Sparker to use to delay the Washington Justice and also split them up. Look at that!
Wow,
Benbest is completely isolated here.
That was a beautiful angle for the Dragon Start from Sparker there, and he still finds Alpha E at the very end too, who's trying to fly away, get right back to the rest of the team there, calling out the rotation of Mirror. Now this means that Spitfire have control over the next corner that we were talking about before. It can be so tricky to take control of, especially with the mix of the high ground there too, that they could take different off angles in Necra.
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, when the fact that you've been able to kind of grab this forward defensive position, I feel like London Spitfire has a lot of utility with not only the corners that they're able to grab, but also the fact that, you know, Hadi has the Primal Rage, able to just kind of juggle people and disrupt that backline. Benbest keeps jumping in and at least being able to keep the backline busy, but that leaves his own backline very vulnerable.
And it's happened already before where they've taken advantage of that. The Spitfire have been able to rip apart that backline every time he tries to call out their own backline. Here comes the Primal called in. Benbest also active in the Primal. He got put to sleep. So did Hadi, but somebody woke him up. Benbest is somehow alive with a pixel of health. He manages to get right back to safety as Hadi takes control of the high ground, trying to call out Alpha Yi. Having to back away in time, puts down that barrier, trying to call out the support lineup of the Justice. But with them playing so split up, he needs to also give some of the extra space to the rest of the Spitfire. Nano coming in onto Benbest. Now, the duplicate coming in as well. That's a lot of survivability coming out from the Justice, forcing Hadi to back away in time. Less than a minute on board, and Sparker finds a huge pick onto Mirror. They do trade that for Landon here, though, and they are able to get that second point neck, or even down to the wire.
Yep, it does look like it. I mean, there you go. Second point captured, buying Washington Justice another life in this map. They had to use that nano boost as well as the duplicate, but I feel like they were still able to find the right opportunities to use those. Otherwise, they would have gone to waste. London Spitfire, though, they're able to come back in and contest this. Benbest is so low. Ooh, okay, that's gonna set Washington Justice back quite a bit if they're able to disengage.
Spore does have control over that off-ground opportunity, off-angle here to try to promote Alpha E from maintaining that high ground advantage here. You can see Lethal trying to contest him here too. Barker coming back with the Dragon Strike. Adi just trying to take in some extra damage onto Alpha E. He is splitting his attention left to right as Alpha E forces the London Spitfire to get off his back. Here comes a Dragon Strike as Hadi gets not only slept, he gets hit with a huge anti too, as a beam is going to delete what is left of Hadi. It's going to be down for Hadi, and Spitfire having to try to find an opportunity to actually find the backline here. See Lethal backing away after utilizing that pulse bomb, landing with the Kitsune Rush. Ben Best now taking control over the back end of the payload. He gets hit and hit with the anti on top of that. He got deleted with Lethal getting the follow-up. Great look for the Spitfire when they lost out on Hadi at the very beginning of that fight. 60 seconds now left for the Justice trying to get that payload and finish.
Oh, Alfie is going to get a little bit staggered here, but it's better to go ahead and try to go towards the card than try to disengage and get even more staggered that way. But hey, at least the Washington Justice, when you're looking at less than a minute left, one more team fight. They've got 5 ultimates to throw at this payload and try to sink it over the line, but
oh, wow.
What? Taro goes down?
Huge follow-up too from Landon once Sparker got that hit, but Floor goes crazy finding Hadi and Landon after the Nano Boost gets put onto Benbest here too. They lose out on Mirror, they lose out on Alpha and Floor. They have so many ultimates to work with here. Benbest is still taxing along the payload. Spitfire had the number advantage and the spot advantage in their favor too, so Benbest is forced to just recuperate with the rest of the team as he pops the primal less than 5 seconds. It's to force his payload into overtime, but he gets put to sleep. He gets woken up immediately right afterwards, and then they delete him immediately with nobody left here. Overtime ticking away. Alpha, he managed to get there after utilizing the duplicate. He immediately gets booted off, but they're just staggering through Necro.
They're staggering through, and they're also not able to touch the point anymore. So London Spitfire are going to take the map, tie up the series, and they looked good. London Spitfire were able to do a lot with that third point. Not only did they stave off a 5 ultimate push that they just were able to stagger out Washington and be able to get picks before they could even use their ults. I don't even know what was happening under the Justice. They did not look like what they looked like on map number 1. And neither did the Spitfire, for that matter.
Yeah, right. I mean, Sparker and Lethal said this is where we feel at home because they absolutely popped off this time around versus what we saw on Oasis for map number 1. Their positioning was another level. They were also able to target the threat that was Alpha E and Floor at the very beginning. Yeah, Alpha E had some great moments at the very end there too, but with the difference between Sparker and Lethal and the way that Hadi was able to encourage them, it was a different look from the London Spitfire. I need to see more of that there too. Yeah, it didn't look like that on Control, but they looked like they were a different team on Hybrid.
I gotta give a lot of credit to Hadi because I feel like we didn't end up getting a chance to see Hadi's best on that very first map, but on King's Row for Hadi, if you were paying attention to his POV, he had an incredible awareness of that bubble, how much health it had left, his cooldowns, being able to just get in and out very flexibly, and I feel like that was a really great way for London to show us a little bit more of what they have in their back pocket and also tie up the series.
Yeah, maybe the swap's not doing the justice in this case here, especially with the way that Hadi was able to diff Ben Best on the Winston. We've got another map underway on the other side of this break. You don't want to miss it. We're moving over to Junkertown. They got their own personal entertainment for their hype
Yeah?
video. Welcome back, everyone. The London Spitfire look crazy. All right. I mean, that's definitely one way to hype yourselves up after taking a map number 2 in a very nice, fashionable way. Necro, we are going to be seeing some changes, though, moving on to map number 3, both from the London Spitfire and from the Washington Justice.
Yep, we're gonna see Backbone make a reappearance here for the London Spitfire, taking a Sparker's place as we head into our map number 3. But we're also gonna see some changes on the other side. We saw a little bit of a role swap there coming in, where you saw Mirror take the place of FD God, and then Ben Best came in. But now we've got the starting roster back with us here for the Washington Justice.
Yeah, from map number 1, where they had a lot to work with. They dominated on Oasis, looked completely different on Kings Row. Don't think it had to do very much with the swaps, more so what we saw coming in from Sparker when he was out here for the Spitfire and Backbone now. And with these adjustments that Spitfire have been able to make, they were really on fire, especially with that Hanzo swap.
Yeah, the Hanzo swap was amazing. We ended up getting a little look at the statistics for Flora and Sparker, and yeah, I don't think that damage was very close. Let's just put it that way. Sparker just on a tear, whether you were seeing him light up the kill feed or even just being able to get some high impact picks. It just felt like Sparker was able to put in a lot of work there. But Junkertown, a little bit of a different beast, and I feel like I'm a little bit surprised actually that we're not seeing Sparker then play the Hanzo. Junkertown has traditionally been a map for a double sniper composition, but we've seen a lot of Backbone Widowmaker in the past. Maybe that's going to be another look for London Spitfire to rely upon. And then Lethal's been showing up on the Tracer, Vicky. I am loving what this rookie has to offer for us.
And this is also a team that when it comes to their mental and they're feeling themselves, you could see it carry out on their future games, especially when they come out on top so dominantly in one of the previous maps there too. So I like to see that momentum now carry over onto Junkertown. Now it's a matter of if they can match this type of gameplay between Lethal and Backbone to Alpha E and Flora differently, obviously from the outcome that we saw on Oasis for that first map here too. Now try to replicate that. You talk about it. You can have all those open sight lines that we're going to see Backbone and Flora try to take advantage of, with Alpha E being a little bit of a difference maker. We do see the Sigma coming out from Mirror and Hottie, but Alpha E sticking with the Sombra.
Yeah, we're going to see the Sombra play, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see, just at least to scout out. And it looks like Alfie is not feeling the Sombra pick into what London Spitfire have, and so we'll be going for the Genji instead, which gives you that opportunity to go for something like the Deflect, to be able to throw something from Backbone right back at him, or Skyripper.
Backbone just witnessed a murder right there in front of his face. He tried to find an opportunity to call out Lethal, or rather call out Alpha E as he gets taken down. Alpha E now trying to take control over the high ground, trying to call out Backbone. Get down, Mr. President, with the Immortality Field coming in from Landon to help him out, help the sustainability, but Alfie is still determined to find an opportunity to prevent him to having those open sightlines. Still, it takes that 1 second of Alfie not trying to check Backbone to find Flora in the back here instead. It's that natural cover that he had to work with. He still managed to find Backbone after he exposed himself a little too much here. Yeah, the Justice lose out a mirror, but Alfie is a problem starting off already on this map. Ooh, Lethal coming in with a pulse bomb. Skyripper following off. Spitfire coming out right after Taro pops that rally.
I was gonna say, it was looking really, really good there for the Washington Justice to be able to finish this off, and now you see Backbone coming back, getting a big pick on a Flora. Everybody's in this right now. London Spitfire with a defense strong enough to keep Washington Justice from capturing that first point, Vicky. I love the stall that they were able to bring here. They even forced out the rally from Teru. They thought that was going to be enough to push the Justice over the line, but all it takes right now is one good pick here from Backbone with just how far along that cart has moved to keep Washington Justice resetting.
And that was really thanks to Lethal there too, putting in so much pressure while Alfie was so fixated on Backbone for the longest time there too, splitting a lot of that attention just as Lethal intended it to. See Alfie again, just trying to harass Backbone in this window. He's got help from Landon there with the Immortality Field just in case it's necessary here too. Looking at the ults that we also have online here in Necro. We got Skyrim with the trans. You see Hadi. Their Gravitic Flux out here too. Gonna be able to pull it off right now as the window is gonna get pulled out from under their feet. Tries to get out of their line of sight as Alpha E now moves in after taking care of Backbone on the high ground with the blade. The Spitfire trying to play incredibly split apart, and Skyrim had already used up the Transcendence. Still though, they try to get away, they try to disengage, they try to counter-rotate, and that's still not enough for Alpha E to take care of the rest of the London Spitfire.
That was a really great fight there for the Justice. Just the amount of territorial control that they grabbed, especially when that Genji blade was in play. We're actually going to see a mirror. We're gonna see Lethal actually try to match Alpha E on the Genji. And hey, there's no Anas in play, so we're looking at vanilla blades here, Vicky, just having to get that work done. But Backbone with a nice pick into Alpha E. Maybe this is the opportunity that London Spitfire need to get back into the defense.
Terra's gonna help check Lethal to help out Flora to stay in position with that pressure that he's gonna want from those open sight lines. Backbone very similar too with Landon that's been helping him out. Just patiently trying to see where Alpha E wants to approach from here too, while just still trying to melt down through that shield. Landon does have an Amp Matrix ready to use.
Amp Matrix is going to be really nice as well, not just to be able to amplify the damage coming out from these players like Skyripper, Lethal, but mostly to really just try to get these angles in check. Backbone takes one, the rest of the team takes the other. It's not quite working though.
Oh, the moment that Amp Matrix was used there too, Alpha E was able to dive on to Lethal, gonna be able to take care of Skyripper after Landon was taken out. Was fight for the high ground there too. That mirror was also able to just counter-rotate right on top of the Spitfire once they used up those ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like Washington Justice are playing that nice call and response. They are playing around what London Spitfire are putting down in terms of ultimates, and then also just being able to find the right picks. Flora also really starting to feel himself right now in terms of, you know, when you're playing Widowmaker and you're on a tear for quite a while.
It's that build-up slowly as Backbone has still been finding shot after shots at the very beginning of that first point here too. Finding FD God is huge here after he used the Amp Matrix. Alfie trying to find an opportunity to force the Spitfire to take the bait. Funnel inside of this side room as Backbone's trying to get away. He's got the help from Teru now as they try to counter-rotate over to the other side. They see Landon right in front of their sights, and he's got the blade ready here too, Necro.
Oh no! But with Lethal, with the deflux onto Flora, being able to take out such a major source of damage for the Justice, I don't think this is a good opportunity to use the blade unless you're able to find a very, very easy target or force out the Immortality field early from Landon.
Ooh,
that might be enough.
Reset, the dash shit there too, into the blade. Everybody scattered like ants. The Immortality field, not a problem. The Gravitic Flux now gets the follow-up here from Mirror to help enable Alpha E clear out the rest of the Spitfire, especially after the initial damage that he was able to put down with the blade.
I mean, that blade wasn't even that flashy, but the follow-up of Mirror being able to get that Graphitic Flux online and capture everybody else on Spitfire, they have been able to move this cart so far now, Vicky. Sight's gonna limit London Spitfire's ability to be able to peek their head out at the moment to get the contest, and that Gravitic Flux hits nobody from Hadi.
It's the Ghost. Ghosty was trying to contest over on the other side of the corner. Nice shot here as Lethal resets with the Mega Pack. Adi still finds the accretion pick on Samira though, which is big as Lethal gets on top of the high ground here. Skyper was taken out by Alpha E, and they won't have the Transcendence. Yes, Lethal was able to find those picks. A minute and 44 seconds on the clock here for the Justice to take this payload to the finish line.
Yeah, a nice sustain here from the Spitfire. Backbone has switched off of the Widowmaker and gone to the Hanzo, which provides them with a little bit more mobility. And you also just saw a really, really nice Immortality field there from Landon just to be able to keep that backline up and running. So London Spitfire may have staved off the attack for now, but there's a world where Washington Justice takes this next push as an eco push and then goes in with other ultimates as they start to build those up. Immortality field or Amplification Matrix is almost online here for FD God. So you could really use that as a tool to help top up some of your other ultimates.
And with Skyver also having trans here too, that's going to be necessary. Yeah, especially with Alpha E trying to work into that win con with the blade here too. Want to try to isolate Skyripper if they have that opportunity. With Flora taking this high ground angle here too, Necra. See the poke damage coming in, but they have less than a minute on the clock as a Dragon Strike gets sent out.
Dragon Strike helps splitting up the team right now. London Spitfire are going to use this time to be able to help heal back up the team as it's last 30 seconds here now, Vicky. So this is where it gotta show up here if you're the Washington Justice. Flora needs a pick, Alfie needs this blade, and London Spitfire ready to strike.
They're peppering in just to build up into the ultimates, and here comes the play from Alpha E. This is the opportunity with less than 15 seconds on the clock, just splitting up the Spitfire as they were actually playing that really well in terms of positioning, getting out of that line of sight of Alpha E as now the Graphitic Flux gets called in. They lose out on FD God. They trade that for Backbone. Spitfire have the spawn advantage, but with Skyriver going down here too, they only have Landon for that sustainability. Everybody goes up here as Hadi comes in with the Graphitic Flux and the Accretion Pick too. They trade that for both Genjis. Hadi's still staying alive between Mirror here. They're trying their best as the overtime clock is ticking away. Mirror finding Backbone though only leaves Hadi up and Landon to sustain the rest of Spitfire as they trickle out of the spawn room doors.
Yeah, Mirror as the only front line available to the Washington Justice needs to just stall for time for the rest of the Justice to get back here. Alfie is able to make it, but look at this in the backline. Lethal actually going sicko mode.
Landon was unchecked. Alpha E tried his best, but he couldn't find Landon, who resustained Hadi with the Immortality Field. Now Lethal has the blade. He dives in overtime for the longest time here as the Justice are making some desperate swaps. Flora now swimming over to the Tracer, and it doesn't look like they're actually able to do it. Skyriver, Lethal, Landon get taken out. Are you kidding me? The Washington Justice at the very end are able to clear out the London Spitfire and take the payload to the finish line.
Major props to FD God. Absolutely major props. With the overhead view that we got, you could see that Ben Best was just kind of Mirror was holding the front line there as long as possible on the Sigma. And then FD God just continuously just throwing those healing papers at him, just hoping that and praying that he stays alive long enough for the rest of the team to be able to come back in. That was phenomenal gameplay right there. Just being able to play for your win condition. And you also negated the blade. You negated all of the other ultimates that came online there from the Spitfire. That takes some extreme coordination and some great mechanical skill to pull off.
Hadi lived for so long with Landon. That was insane.
That's true.
He tried so hard to stay on that point. It's just the peaks weren't able to come out, unfortunately, at the very end from Backbone and Lethal. Alpha E really helped close out everything there with FD God, like you mentioned, the survivability, helping the Justice stay in the game while the spawn point was still in favor for the Spitfire right to their backs. Taking a look at a replay here, you talked about FD God before, Necro, and he was able to help out the rest of Justice with the Kitsune Rush, stay alive with the rest of Spitfire, who did not want to get off that point.
Yeah, and then the fact that you were able to lay down the Kitsune Rush as well, like on top of all the healing output that you were doing, FD God just really did put up a fantastic support carry. That was great, and of course the rest of the team being able to actually take advantage of that also is another thing that speaks for itself. But we're switching sides now, Vicky. We do have Backbone and Flora once again playing this Widowmaker duel. And we were able to see them both pop off in their own ways. But it does take a very strong Widowmaker on the attack to be able to get through Widowmaker on the defense.
I like to see these different angles too, that we're now seeing the difference between Justice and the defense when Spitfire was hanging onto that window. Backbone taking the more different off angle here too, trying to find where Flora is. Here comes Alpha E though. Don't look down your sights, you may miss him. Line in. He's gonna go for a reset too with Skyriver trying to put on the Discord orb on him if they can have that opportunity as they rotate together. Ooh, he still finds Landon right to his back. Oh, they thought they were safe the moment they got down from the high ground. And here comes the counter rotate and the sandwich from the Justice. Hadi does retaliate back. He gets Alpha. He punishes him for overextending. The number advantage is in the Justice side.
Justice is going to be able to do a great defensive hold here. And when especially you've got this high ground to play around, I love this archway on the defense. You not only with the Sigma have the ability to pop up that shield like Mirror is, but Florida is able to take some great angles here when you look at maybe even just above point A, going over to the health pack, looking down main. There's so many different ways that Backbone's going to have to keep an eye out for that particular player.
Oh, nice accretion pick from Hottie there onto Mirror. That's a great opening start to just break through the defenses of the Justice, especially Alfie trying to harass the backline again. Backbone also getting the win trade against Floor, knocking his head right off his shoulders here. Spitfire with another advantage, managing to rack up those ults as well for that next fight. Hottie is going crazy on this Sigma, and now they have all this extra time and space to get that first checkpoint.
So you know how Hottie was doing a great job of creating space on the Winston, playing around the health of the Winston bubble? I feel like he's doing something very similar. With Sigma, it's a little bit of a slower pace. You're trying to keep a couple steps forward, put your barrier forward, take a couple more steps as your barrier starts to regenerate some health, and keep doing the same thing. And so Hottie's putting a lot of confidence in the DPS lineup of the team, whether it's Lethal going into the backline, Backbone getting a pick on the Widowmaker, just enough damage that little bit of space taking is paying off and is able to kind of expound itself.
Mirror now pulling up the Gravitic Flux, funneling the backline in that side room. Skyripper's about to get Transcendence, but Flora takes him out before it comes in. That would have been a huge reset for the Spitfire if they were able to maintain themselves, keep alive with the Justice having other plans, prioritizing Kim first, as they are going to be able to take control over that payload and win that fight in that next checkpoint.
I think for the Spitfire, you're actually really happy that Skyripper didn't get the Transcendence online there and had the opportunity to accidentally throw it away. And so now you have that as an available tool to go into this next fight against Alfie's Dragon Blade. It's tough if you're a Zenyatta in these times. Do you use the Transcendence as a tool against the Gravitic Flux on the other side, or the Dragon Blade? You gotta pick and choose here, and I think that you're going to want it for the Dragon Blade here. Immortality Field just isn't enough on its own in a lot of instances.
And with the position that you're seeing from London Spitfire, they have the 50-50 rotation approach, whether they want to hang inside that side room underneath Alpha Yi's feet or take that side rotation right behind Hottie. Here comes a dive in from Alpha Yi, who gets immediately shut down. You saw the immediate reaction, too, from Skyripper pulling off the Transcendence, just in case Alpha Yi was not checked in time, but they were able to do that, still pull off the Transcendence, so that way he could counter-rotate on the other side of Hottie to reposition. Mirror now is going to be able to follow the rest of Spitfire as their flanks split apart after landing gets taken down. I like the execution, but the rest of the Justice are now still able to control a lot of this extra space from where the payload is.
Where's Lethal? That's what I want to know is, oh, Lethal's just behind the team. Yeah, get a nice pick onto Flora, being able to open that up so that London Spitfire don't have to play scared of these sight lines for the Widowmaker. We also just switched Backbone over to the Hanzo as well, so we were looking at that as a nice transition here for Backbone to play a little bit closer to the team and also just be able to apply some pressure to the Sigma shield.
And then with the Ant Matrix helping them out here, Skyripper gets taken down in their line of sight. Here comes Lethal trying to force Flora off, but he's got some help from Teru. He gets taken out. That's 3 out for the Spitfire and another reset, another team fight win in favor for the Justice.
Justice are playing this defense so well. They're not giving any breathing room to the Spitfire, whether it's just locking down these choke points with Flora's Widowmaker, or even just kind of using the Genji as such a strong tool through the deflects, through just being able to get those Genji dashes and blade resets. It's been really fun to watch the Justice play through this defense. But London Spitfire are really looking at something to break this open. Amplification Matrix could really help here, or a pick from Backbone. Both work. I like the Backbone pick personally. That's fun to watch.
Oh, especially after Flora kind of exposed himself trying to hit Skyripper on the head right there too. The tracking from Backbone to catch him on the other side as Backbone gets taken out right afterwards. Seems like an in from Alpha Yi to find him there too. Back is Landon. He's got that Ant Matrix at the ready too. Hottie is moving with the Gravitic Flux. Trevor's so close to getting that trans as the rally comes in. Hottie going to be able to utilize her Gravitic Flux to clear that next corner with the way that Justice are playing now. Please split apart, letting Alpha Yi just go a contest up ahead, but in front of the window, all in the line of sight of Landon to contest him. He's going to be able to clear out Alpha Yi too. Time ticking away, Necro, less than 15 seconds on the clock, and the Justice has still been able to prevent Spitfire from getting any progress on the payload.
Yeah, I mean, Lethal's able to get a pretty big pick onto Teru, but you're up against the clock right now to even just make it to the point. That's why Lethal's gonna have to go in and touch, and Alfie's gonna pop the blade in response.
Oh no, and he had the blade too. If he just stayed alive for a little longer with the rest of Spitfire rounding around that corner, the transcendence was Sky Ripper now as Alpha E takes a different angle. They're using that blade right through the Ant Matrix. He dashes through the Immortality Field too. Here comes Spitfire though. Sky Ripper and Backbone finding those two picks is big, but they lose out on Landon, only leaving Sky Ripper for that sustainability. He's hiding in that little side room. Mirror calls him out. He gets hacked, but nobody on the point to contest the payload. Washington Justice, with so much pressure, were able to clear out the London Spitfire.
It was a rough go for London Spitfire there. I feel like just at the end of the day, Washington Justice were able to lock down that defense to the point where London just ran out of time. In those final moments, it felt like maybe Hottie's he old faithful of the Reinhardt was going to be able to get them another life by securing that second checkpoint, but Washington Justice, they look like they did on the first map, which is crazy. They were running the same starting lineup.
Yeah, that and their defense, the way that they played positioning-wise, also helped enable Alpha E to basically be the entry fragger, so that way the trouble that London Spitfire had to deal with was then fixating their attention on Alpha E, leaving their front line open too. So that was a really good plan that the Washington Justice was able to take advantage of. I like the beginning look from London Spitfire, especially here where we saw Backbone get a lot of those early picks, but man, was Alpha E a pain to deal with, especially when you had to fixate your attention and turn it around on the threat that was Alpha E that game.
I mean, Genji is a hero that Alpha E is known for, working all the way up from contenders and just coming into the Overwatch League. This was a hero we were all really hoping to see Alpha E make a reappearance on. And there's a good reason why this Genji has been so impactful for Justice. It's just Alpha E is really, really good at it.
Now Washington Justice, they're sitting at match point, Necra. I'm excited to see how our next map is going to play out on New Queen Street. It's going to be our push map on the other side of this break.
fly and I'm flashy. It's the reason why the people always ask me, where you get that? Where you cop those? I've been fresh to death since a snot nose kid on the block with the illest sneakers. The girls all flock like they missile seekers. The party don't stop, got different features, exclusives, different colors, you can't get them either. I came here to stunt, that's what I go for. I don't buy a pair, I buy the whole store. A price tag's just a number to me, so I never miss a shot that I want and I see. Swish.
Welcome back, everybody. Man, what a series we've had so far. Necra, Washington Justice take Junkertown with a nice hold against the London Spitfire. Now, going on to map number 4 while the Justice are sitting at match point and taking a look at the impact that Mirror just had on Junkertown is actually insane. 3 deaths and 30 elims to his name.
That's disgusting. Okay, that's actually just so gross. And what's really interesting about maybe why we're like highlighting this, right? Mirror was kind of in the kill feed, but like you could really see the impact that he was having in terms of just like hitting the accretions, getting that brief stun, having the follow-up there from the rest of his team. He was able to provide so much support and so much space that the rest of the team was also able to pop off. And that death line right there speaks volumes to just how well that backline was supporting him the entire time.
Survivability is actually insane from what we saw earlier from Teru and FD God. Now, they want to take this home, Necra. They have one more map potentially to chance out here unless the London Spitfire could pull what they pulled on map number 2 on King's Row. No swap-ups, though. That is something important to highlight here. No substitutions coming in from either of these teams. We're sticking to our guns here after what we saw from map 3.
It makes a lot of sense there for both of these teams. We're still looking at a double flex support lineup here for the London Spitfire, and for Washington Justice, what worked. I think that's a lot to, like, there's something to be said about momentum for these players. Whether you're on the Widowmaker and like pick after pick really helps to build up your confidence, or just maybe the comms are going crazy, Vicky, and they're just really feeling each other right now in terms of being able to synergize as a whole team. We're looking at New Queen Street as our next map in this first to 3. Washington could win it here.
Trying to see what they're going to bring to the table out here, too. You know, it's also nice to highlight the team synergy that we've been seeing from the Justice. You know, for a team that is a mixed roster, they are looking so fantastic in these follow-ups and in this communication, too, for this team. Excited to see now, too, with the way that Alpha E was playing on the Genji. He was going absolutely crazy, enabled that with Mirror. It's a dangerous combination out here for the Washington Justice. And on the other side, too, London Spitfire usually always quick to try to readapt around what we've already seen so far. It's been a little difficult to get their hang onto Junkertown, too, with the way that they were playing. Hadi had a great time, too, on the Sigma, but unfortunately, just looking at the stats that we see lined up against him with Mirror, it's so difficult to try to call that out here with the way that the Justice were playing in position.
That, and also there were quite a few times where it was Mirror and Hadi going toe-to-toe, and Mirror just getting the upper hand when it came down to that Sigma versus Sigma. But New Queen Street's a whole new ball game. Let's see how this goes. As Push, we've recognized is just a little bit wacky when it comes down to when these team fights and the pace of these fights actually happen. You're really looking at trying to get out of the gates fast here, maybe trying to take a high ground position depending on what you play, but holy moly, Vicky, we're seeing more Junker Queen coming out as Washington Justice leave their spawn doors.
You know, I'm not just surprised here on New Queen Street. I like this look from Mirror, too, coming out after having such an impeccable game in the last map now, trying to play as aggressive to help enable Alpha E2. See them just already trying to get into a split position through the back line as they try to take control over the high ground, too. Spitfire also having backbone on this Somber. Lethal, they're trying to match that with Justice. You're going to have to play into that wing con that is the EMP as Lethal gets hacked and then deleted by Flora.
That's a huge pick. That's a really, really huge pick, and you can see just how quickly Washington Justice have stepped on the gas as FD God goes for that movement. I mean, you move on this.
Love seeing Mirror play. Teru does get hacked by Backbone, who immediately gets punished by Alpha E. Florida Alpha E on a different level. The shout comes in. the rest of the Justice are able to get into position here. Alpha Yi has been feeling himself, pushing all the way into the open sidelines that is the Spitfire, losing out on Landon in that previous fight too. So this is going to give all the extra room to Justice around this corner.
Absolutely. They're going to take some space here as Mirror just kind of holds down the fort, looking towards the right-hand side for those sight lines. And honestly, Flora just kind of freaking havoc in the back line here. Lethal dies again! So much emphasis and pressure being put onto him from both Alpha Yi and Flora.
Oh, and they're about to try to call out Skyripper in the back here too. Landing. Oh no, Flora. Finding Landon now, finding Hottie one by one as the dominoes fall. Spitfire have not been able to even find a defensive toe around this bot, not even around that next corner. Uppy is just holding forward now, finding that 1v1 against Lethal.
Holy moly. Okay, let's just break this down for a second. Not only are Flora and Alfie just absolutely like diffing Backbone and Lethal at this point, just because they're running circles around them, the EMP is gonna come out already. Oh, Vicky. They've already got the checkpoint. Like, this map could just be over.
They're trying to speedrun their way to finish, get some dinner after this. They've been feeling themselves. Alfie also with a fall after that EMP from Flora on the back line. Spitfire have answers though here, Necra. Mirror does get hacked. FD Gods got that barrier, as well as a Kitsune Rush from Teru. Justice is going to answer back with the backline ults getting activated now too. There's a nano boost onto Landon, trying to find some of that extra damage. As Flora is going to now try to get into a different position. Skyripper still loses out, as Alpha is seeming unstoppable. Lethal and Backbone finally get a footing here, at least on this spot, to try to flip things around, because it's just been dominating so far from the Justice with their momentum.
Yeah, now London Spitfire are going to be able to take back a little bit of control, but look at how much they had to expend there in order to actually start to move the spot, which they have left. Okay, Lethal has come back now. That's some valuable time there, Spitfire. I don't know what you're doing, but you can't be moseying your way through this course right now. Especially when you're looking at Lethal needing to make an impact here with the Pulse Bomb, Landon as well with the Kitsune Rush. You're looking at trying to get that as a straightaway, and you can't do that if the bot is sitting at the midpoint.
Rampage is on the ready here for Mirror. If he has the opportunity, but Flora going down, it's going to delay the next set of EMP in that next fight. We'll get into one fight exactly here, as Landon also has that Kitsune Rush ready. Those just trying to take some poke damage over on the other side, trying to find a flanking angle, as Teru is going to be able to find Backbone. That means Flora is going to be able to diff him in terms of the EMP percentage when it's online first. Gonna get contested here as a Rampage is gonna get unleashed from Mirror now to control over the bot. Trying to find an opportunity to reposition here too, as Alpha the high ground sends out the Pulse Bomb, finds Skyripper, trades that for Flora. One by one though, Spitfire lose out on two, so do the Justice. Alpha falls low as he gets sent down. It's just Mirror and Teru there.
I mean, Landon at this point is trying to dish a little bit of that medicine back, right? Really tired of Flora and Alfie just kind of running after him. So you're going to get a little bit of revenge here, get the bot with a little bit more progress, but you're still looking at Flora being able to come back and get this EMP down. If you keep London Spitfire from being able to capture this first point, you've done your job. You could win this map outright.
Huge 1-2 Scooby-Doo. Yeah, because they have the hack into the follow from Alfie again onto Landon. It's the backline that's been suffering here from Spitfire. Be doing such a good job to keep them in check. Hottie does pop the primal. He does get hacked. Skyripper is going to be able to come in with that nano boost as well. The bot is going to be in their control. We got 5 minutes on the clock. Still a lot of time for Spitfire to work with.
It is, but look at how much progress the Washington Justice have already made. Yeah. They can just play to keep that lead at this point. You don't even need to try to push for any more objective meterage. Just go for the strong defense on this corner, which you absolutely can do. Look at how slippery Alpha Yi is being. Backbone would have loved to be able to get a hack there. And that hits nobody.
Oh. Okay. Ghost haunting his pass out here with the EMP, trying to figure out a way to get them away. As the sound barrier from FD God also gets unleashed here too. Mirror does get hacked by Backbone. Already had that nano boost put onto him by Skyripper. They finally find Alpha Yi, who's about to get the pull from when he comes right back in to again harass Landon or Skyripper here. But holding this corner, like you mentioned, Ekar, they don't have to overextend here. They just need to keep defending, especially with Spitfire at least having control over this spot. This is a good opportunity for Spitfire to take advantage of its defensive playstyle from Justice.
Absolutely. I mean, Justice can just kind of stay in this pack room, though. Lethal does land a nice stick there onto FD God. So it's a great way to limit Washington Justice's mobility. But London Spitfire have to capitalize on this. They do get the point capture, though. That's big.
Especially with them funneling over in that side room. Again, playing more passively here as Mira's going to be able to go in with the Rampage, try to isolate the Sky Ripper on the other side. He just looked at him funny, so he immediately took him out over on the side. Huge pick here as Landon also gets taken down. Justice showing exactly why they're coming out with the Junker Queen. The shout coming out from Mirror, patrolling that side room. They also have to look back here too, because Flora and Alpha, you were busy trying to control the front line of the Spitfire on the bot.
I mean, things are starting to look a little bit better here for the Spitfire. You are able to at least get back into the swing of things as you keep that aggression a little bit in check. Nice hack there from Backbone, but those forward spawns have been shut off, and so it really comes down to Spitfire just kind of winning out the next few fights as Washington Justice are starting to look around this corner again with an EMP in tow.
Has been putting in a lot of the damage, but it's just not being able to find these picks that are so necessary here for the Spitfire. C4 getting into position. He's got the EMP ready. Can he find Backbone is the question here too. And has got that rush ready, and he got landed with the EMP. Finds Backbone after he also used the EMP. It does hit Mirror and Alpha Heat, but it's the backline that suffers the most from the Justice. As the numbers come in from Spitfire, they have the advantage, and they didn't even have to burn everything, just that EMP from Backbone.
That was an absolutely big team fight win there for London Spitfire. You got the EMP out like you mentioned, and now you still have 4 other ultimates. I'm really looking at the Kitsune Rush here, especially if you identify a really nice straightaway to be able to lay that down onto. You're past the midway point, you've got the Nano as well. You may as well use it and try to get as much damage down as possible.
Where they're trying to unleash everything here too. Adi also has that reset with a Primo after this Nano boost is done. He does get hacked. Landon did send out the rush. He does get singled out by Mirror again here. Trying to hang out to the high ground as Hadi immediately gets taken down by Mirror after he leaps once. Alpha also trying to take control of the buff. He's got the pulse bomb ready. The shout as well from Mirror as he deletes Sky Ripper. Numbers falling down for the Spitfire, and the Justice once again have control over this bot.
Justice are just going to try to extend their lead at this point. They are now the ones that have 4 ultimates in their bank and a minute and a half to work with. Alfie gonna play just a little bit sneaky, waiting on the stairs to see if there's anybody good to land that pulse bomb into.
Oh, but with the rush, you can speed your way all the way into position that you need to. Here comes the sound barrier as well from the Justice, trying to keep that sustainability alive. So Rampage comes in, they put Mirror to sleep. Huge anti coming in, trying to delete it, but look at all the health he's still able to regain. Somebody do something, and they had to all dive on top of Mirror to take care of that threat. But in that, they gave up that space. They gave their backs to the rest of the Justice to get the follow-up. They lose out on Teru, but Alpha and Flora, who's about to get the EMP, was still able to get that follow-up. They trade that, they lose out on FD God, and the number is still in favor of Justice with less than a minute on the clock, Necro.
Oh my god, Alfie's staying alive! What can't this man do right now? Alfie has been putting in so much work for the team right now, and I just feel like London Spitfire have a behemoth of a task in front of them at this point. Flora's in the back line, has an EMP. You're waiting at this point to hit like the 15-second mark, just when your team is in the position to be able to follow up on this, and when you know that London Spitfire aren't going to have enough time left to strike back.
Oh, they knew where Flora was going to approach there too. Still gets the hack onto Hadi as the EMP comes out from Backbone. Losing out on Mirror is big with less than 10 seconds. Spitfire can force this into overtime. Where could Flora go? They know exactly where Flora is. You saw them just point at each other like Spider-Man meme between Backbone and Flora, but he needs to get this high ground. He needs to try to isolate Skyrim, who has a nano boost. Time taken away. Flora's not getting ahead of himself. It's going to be able to sandwich the rest of Spitfire with Justice on the other side.
Spitfire have to play this really carefully, though, because they are definitely clumped up for a huge EMP from Flora. And Flora's looking for it right now, Vicky. That would spell disaster. London strike first.
With the Kitsune Rush coming in too, and Alpha you going down, this is big for the Spitfire to maintain this momentum that they've built up in overtime now. Still pushing the bot right over Flora, still holding on to that EMP. FD God's gonna try to get this sound barrier online as well as Teru with the rush. Just to try to regroup if they possibly can here. Trade control over the high ground, overlooking Spitfire.
Look at this. Hadi has to hold the front line right now as the EMP gets let loose. It doesn't hit too many people, though. Maybe there's a chance for Spitfire.
Only hitting backbone too. Yeah, Lethal's gonna be able to send out that pulse bomb. Doesn't get the pick, falling incredibly low. Mirror's about to get the rampage though, which could make all the difference. Everybody gets shot up here as Landon is the one that gets in the line of sight of that rampage. Trying to split that attention though, with the rest of Spitfire looking back and forth. They're dropping like flies as the Justice are looking to end it all here. Necra taking the second series of the day over the London Spitfire.
Washington Justice. If you're a Justice fan, I think you're pretty happy about seeing a win under their belt to kick off the season. And the looks that they were able to show us throughout this series as well bode favors for the rest of the season, Vicky, don't you think?
I love it. I love the way that Mirror is looking right now. He put in like over 8,000 damage in that map alone on the Junker Queen. We've been seeing the Junker Queen come out on that push map, and so it's nice to see how new Queen Street plays into the Washington Justice favor, but the way that they also were able to play off the new momentum that the London Spitfire were able to build up in the middle of overtime was crazy. Not getting ahead of themselves, not pulling the trigger on the EMP. Yeah, when he did pull the trigger on the EMP, it just hit backbone, but it's about singling out the Spitfire at the very end that allowed them to secure that final map.
Absolutely. That patience was so important there. And that's one of the things that you really see out of these top level teams is just being able to know that this is the moment. You can't use it too early, you can't use it too late, and I feel like Washington Justice got it just right when it came down to their positioning as well as the ultimate usage there. And yeah, Mirror, that's an aggressive tank right there. That's what you should expect to see out of a tank like that. Just being able to keep London Spitfire on the back foot. They still put up a great fight though, Vicky. I feel like we saw a very different view of the London Spitfire in that second map.
Yeah, they're trying their best to also try to figure out a new meta that they just haven't been able to nail down exactly. Great showcase for the London Spitfire, but we got to highlight a player, Necra, after the Washington Justice performance, and it's got to be Alpha Yi, the king who did not die at all. I mean, he tried his best. His survivability was actually insane. I know we talk about Mirror, but Alpha Yi was another one that was on top of it since the very first map.
Absolutely. I mean, Alpha E just had everybody's number on the London Spitfire, going after all of the backline, just making sure that there was just cleanup crew in Isle Junkertown. Like, even just on New Queen Street as well. Get out the broom here, because like he just kind of kept sweeping left and right when it came to just making sure that there was enough damage down on the board. I mean, looking at the stats here, okay, I mean, maybe you die a little bit, but also it doesn't matter if you're taking people down with you.
And the damage output, the elims on top of that too. Alpha Yi, I know we saw him last year popping off on the Hanjo Spark with that Genji. He shows it again with the Tracer and the Genji coming in again. Love to see this look from Alpha Yi and the rest of the Washington Justice. This is a team, again, with a mixed roster that looks very comfortable, especially with the way that their comms have been flowing through. Excited to see more from this team. Definitely can't sleep on a team like this. And with the London Spitfire still trying to figure things out when it comes to the meta at hand.
I would love to see the Washington Justice roster with Best in the mix and FD God behind him. That's something that I'm still going to be looking forward to seeing, because I feel like that maybe map 2 just has potential there when it comes down to what the Justice have to offer for us this season. And London Spitfire as well. I mean, I just can't wait to see what happens next. It's just one match for all of these teams so far to kick off the season.
And that's been our 2 first matches to open up the Overwatch League 2023 season. We still got another series, though, on the other side of this break, guys. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys soon.
Welcome back, one and all, to the desk. Ramatra, Doomfist, and Sigma mains. You may rejoice right now because the tank bundle featuring all those 3 fancy schmancy heroes is here, and it comes with a weapon charm and your favorite team skin as well. It's on sale right now through May the 9th for just 350 league tokens. So grab yours now. Well worth it. Look at those guys. Look at those.
Doomfist is looking so ripped these days.
Doomfist
These
gets
days.
longer.
I just
You
want to.
think they just add like a pack every season?
You just
I wish
gained,
I
like,
wish
a
I was
couple pounds of muscle.
Doomfist.
So defined.
I want to get as big as Doomfist.
Muscle.
All right, that's a goal.
You're gonna need like the power gauntlet. I think that's gonna be a challenge.